Excited to tell you about that first phone call, because you're probably all wondering how did Candace Owens end up speaking with Harvey Weinstein? As I said to you guys, we have had and still have really nothing in common. It is really stunning, truly stunning, and I think actually one of the more compelling things about he and I coming together on anything. So the story actually begins in November of 2022. Like, that is how deep I am on this. And now that you know how I am in terms of organizing like a psychopath and looking at timelines and really deeply researching things so that the public can be invited to do the same, you can only imagine if I've had the runway since 2022 to do this. November of 2022 is when I was contacted by a third party, to my shock and surprise, and they asked me if I would just take a look at the Harvey case and if I would maybe be interested in interviewing him. And to be clear, this is back when Harvey Weinstein was in Los Angeles, because he was very soon going to be eventually convicted on rape charges. So we begin this conversation, and I'm instantly like, yeah, of course, I would love the opportunity to interview Harvey Weinstein, obviously, for no other reason other than the fact that he is Harvey Weinstein, and it makes for a very compelling interview. A man that had so much power, who got taken down by the Me Too movement. So we had a little bit of back and forth, me and this third party, and they said, okay, well, they want to wait until he's actually convicted. That following month he was, to see if he's convicted, rather. That following month in December, Harvey Weinstein was convicted in LA. Fast forward to January. That's when we got into our back forth about this sort of limited NDA. And the next thing I knew, I was being patched in on a prison line to speak with Harvey Weinstein. And this is a chapter in a future autobiography of my life that I will never forget, because it was surreal in so many ways. It was just the opposite of what I was expecting. I guess to reflect upon it, what I was expecting was to speak with a defeated man. He is a person that is sitting in a prison cell. And the way that the third party person presented it to me was that essentially, and I assumed maybe partially, everybody in the mainstream media had lied about him, and now he was maybe getting desperate and wanted to speak with me. And I can be completely honest. Like I said, my motivation behind taking the phone call was, I think Harvey Weinstein's guilty, but who cares? I just would really like the opportunity to interview him about his life and how this all happened and how somebody could be where he was in life and then fall. And I've already confessed to you, I thought Harvey Weinstein was guilty because there were 107 women, just to be clear, okay? 107 women who came forth and made accusations from him. But he sexually assaulted me, he did this, he sexually abused me, whatever it was, there were just too many accusations. The media had completely flooded the zone in a way that made it impossible for me to believe that he could be anything but guilty. And like I said, I say this as someone who takes pride in always reading in between the lines and looking beneath the layer of social media manipulation and of mainstream media manipulation. But I fell for it, okay? I will just admit that. I will own that. So I just remember the casual demeanor that I had as I was being patched in. Like, I was sitting like this, for those of you that are listening on audio, just sort of leaned back in a chair in this small cubicle, like, yeah, well, this guy's gotta let me take this interview. And this will be a nice little introductory phone call. Nothing to worry about here. He gets patched in. He says, hello. Harvey Weinstein's voice is like a growl. And it's like, hello. That was actually really good what I did there. Hello, And the first thing he says to me, I kid you not, okay? I don't understand how you can support Donald Trump. Okay. Whoa. Stop everything. What is happening? What are we talking about? This has nothing to do with politics. My understanding is you just want me to do an interview with you. I am suddenly saying to him, yeah, and I'm answering and kind of recalculating the conversation and explaining why I support Donald Trump. And that's a known thing. Shouldn't you have already known that I support Donald? Why are we on the phone? And I just sort of answer, and I think I fumbled the real reason why I support him, talked about the economy and like, who cares? And then he sort of gets into like, what about Kanye? Right? So I'm fresh off of my Kanye in Paris wearing the White Lives Matter shirt, and he's asking me questions about that. And he says, I give a lot of money to the ADL. And I'm going, okay, here we go. I'm suddenly realizing that this is not the conversation that I thought that we were going to be having. I have no idea why I'm on this phone call. And then he says to me, why would I go with you? And he tells me that he's speaking with 3 other people who want to do this interview, who have much better experience and a way further reach than I have, all things that are objectively true. He then says, I've never even heard of this company you work for. He mispronounces the company that I was working for at the time. And I realized at that moment that I was being big-timed for Harvey Weinstein, and by Harvey Weinstein. And I just sort of sat up straight and recognized that Harvey Weinstein is still Harvey Weinstein, and he's making me pitch myself. Like I suddenly felt like I was trying out for the cheerleading team. Like I suddenly realized I'm auditioning for something, and I had no idea I was going to be auditioning for something, and he's very powerful. And I want to communicate that to you guys. Harvey Weinstein is still very powerful. He is brilliant. He is not in prison because he was not innately intelligent and powerful. And I suddenly was nervous. It was so strange. I was nervous, and I'm going, why am I suddenly nervous trying to pitch myself to get this interview that I thought I had in the bag? And this guy is sitting in a cell, and I'm having to recalculate and recalibrate all of this very quickly as I'm on this phone. Then he names someone who is, as a fact, one of the biggest and most influential media people in the world, someone that he is friends with, who he was in talks to do the interview with. Not exactly someone that I could compete with, so to speak. Like, I'm just Candace Owens, and I'm nowhere near as big as these people. I have never been in the mainstream media. The mainstream media doesn't like Candace Owens. And it was obvious to me at that moment that he was essentially taking this phone call to entertain his third-party friend. And it kind of clicked, and it dawned on me that that person was lobbying for him to do the interview with me. That person was a fan of Candace Owens. That person believes that if I took a look at this case, I would actually give it a fair shake on the basis of past investigations that I had done. And she was really saying to him, you should do it with her. And he was disagreeing. So he was just on this phone to entertain a friend, in my view. I really felt that. And even though she felt I was the right person for the job, Harvey clearly did not. He did not think that I had the experience, and he still very much lives in the world of Miramax. He very much lives in the world of who is the best Hollywood person. He spoke to me about the right composers if I was going to do a docu-series. You know, I'm not even thinking on music composed in the right way. I mean, you just wouldn't even believe that sort of a conversation. It wasn't what I was expecting, because he's still a visionary. He still wants to make movies. He still wants to tell stories in ways that are beautiful. And it's weird to say this, but there was something about the conversation that registered to me as naive. And I'm speaking about him. It seemed in the retrospect very naive to me that he still believed in the beast that took him down. Do you know what I'm saying? Harvey Weinstein still believed in the mainstream media apparatus. He still believed in Hollywood. He still believed in the power of his friends. The very same thing, the very same apparatus that took him down, he believed in, and he just didn't know what I was. So at this point, I guess I sort of gathered myself, and I started pushing back more forcefully. Like I was like, okay, I got this. Like, I'm actually now just got to be Candace Owens, you know? And I got to start talking to him like he's talking to me, because I'm in a business meeting. I didn't expect to be in a business meeting with somebody that's been in prison, has been sitting in prison for a year, at least a year. And that there was one moment where I knew that I had gotten him, you know, like I had sort of defeated him, so to speak, if we were just kind of going back forth, riff-raffing like New Yorkers negotiating a business deal. There was the moment where it clicked for him. And I think the moment that I wrangled it away from the mainstream people that had wanted to do this sit down with him. He said, and obviously I'm paraphrasing here, but he said about that person who was going to interview him, you know, I've been friends with her for years. She knows that I didn't do these things. I said, you know what, Harvey? You've got a lot of powerful friends. I'll admit that. You've got a lot of powerful friends in Hollywood. And where are they all now? Have any of them used their platform to speak out? Has that individual used her platform to speak out and to say to the public that she thinks that you're innocent of the reasons that you've been convicted? Where are they now? And he did this sort of growl think that he does, which was like, genuinely, this is the sound effect. And I could tell that it hit. And he said back to me, they all turned their backs on me. And I said, yeah, well, I'm not your friend. And we obviously have nothing in common and in terms of our politics, the causes that we support. But I can guarantee you that if I look into something and I believe that there is something there, I will stand up against the entire world to say something that I believe to be true. Okay? And I think that was the turning point. I think that is how we got to today. And I'm excited that at the end of this series, you guys will be able to hear a conversation between me and Harvey Weinstein. It will, I think, just explode the world. I think I've always had faith in our court system. And now that's beginning to change. Now I'm beginning to wonder if our courtrooms have been politicized, if when a movement grows so big, whether it's Black Lives Matter or Me Too, somebody has to hang, if you know what I'm saying. And I'm really excited to bring forth this series because it allows us to go backwards. It allows us to go from it getting so crazy that somebody who is as perfectly innocent as I believe he is, as Justin Baldoni, is now suffering the consequences because we didn't do the right thing years ago by objectively analyzing things about people who are definitely not puppies, like I said, people like Harvey Weinstein. So I am very much looking forward to presenting to you all, beginning next week, our newest series, as we mentioned a couple of days ago, Harvey Speaks.